And I was just so devastated because I was thinking, oh, I'm going to be in distress and that's going to impact my kids. And so what do I need to do? How do I need to do this? I need to do this with that knowledge, not to scare myself, but to just be super intentional during this time. Because all things being equal, I would not have done it at that time because it is a very sensitive period. But we can do workarounds, and temperament really matters. And so that's the other thing. That's why, some kids really can thrive under almost any circumstance. They're like dandelions. They can grow through the cracks of a sidewalk and you're just like a whack-a-mole and you can't believe it. And other kids are, it's a continuum. Of course, nobody's like in categories, but just for ease of talking about it, I think it's helpful to think like an orchid child is going to bloom under the best of circumstances and be incredibly robust. But in the worst of circumstances, if you've ever tried to raise an orchid, I have, it's not pretty.
No,
it's not pretty. So you have to also take that into account.
So can you explain that metaphor for temperament? Because, in the 5 principles of parenting, you talk about orchid children versus dandelion children. What does that mean?
So Thomas Boyce did this research, and it's really beautiful, I think, as long as you take it all with a grain of salt, because people are not just in categories of flowers. But if you have more than one kid or more than one sibling, this is true, which is there are orchids, tulips, and dandelions. And the dandelions, and I'm going to say something that can sound daunting, but I think it's also inspiring. Parenting is the most powerful environmental input for our children.
Parenting. Is the most powerful environmental input for children. So you can be in the worst of circumstances and have a steady, loving, safe parent.
It is incredibly protective. It's incredibly protective. And we can talk about that because I think that research is exquisite. Separately, when you think about how anyone responds to their environment, an orchid responds quite sensitively to their environment.
Yes.
So they're going to be attuned to everything going on. And they need a very specific set of sunlight, water, and soil in order to thrive. But then they're magnificent.
Yes.
A tulip is sort of somewhere in between what might have been considered slow to warm up, and yet they can do pretty well. And then dandelions, you really don't need to do much but love them more often than not and set some boundaries here and there.